Okay. Now streaming. All right, everybody. It's an exciting day. Let's see here. Yes. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Class with Kate, where I take you to school on all things restoring relationships. We have a very exciting day today. Yesterday, I planned on having a caller, and there was some kind of tech stuff on our end that we had to figure out, and we figured it out. The reason we're doing this again is to bring light to issues. January is estrangement month, and here we are going to be talking about all things estrangement. Parents and their adult kids. And March is going to, February is going to be marriage. March is going to be parenting and basically preventing the situation that is happening today. So today we have a caller, Tony, and we're going to chat with her about her situation. She's going to ask kind of a one or two questions, like a main question. And we're going to see if there's any insight here. This is not a therapy session. That's what people need to understand. Tony and I are not entering into a therapeutic relationship. But hopefully everything goes well. So I'm going to go ahead and give Tony a call. Let's see what happens here. Tony. Okay. Good morning.
Hi, Kate. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm just getting to my desk here. Perfect time.
Good.
All right.
Let me see here. What's happening? All right. So let me pull you up here.
Okay.
Where'd you go? There you are. All right. So nice to meet you.
You too, Kate.
Yeah, this is okay. So no pressure here to get anywhere even, like this is just a conversation. In typical context, there would be more context and history and getting to know each other. But this is just a conversation, just to answer your question and to see what kind of insight we've got. So
okay.
Talk to me. Tell me what's going on and how I can help.
Well, I think there's a huge struggle with being disconnected from family, especially at this time in life where you think there should be a lot of resolution of things after so much growth, therapy, working on things. But instead, I think a lot comes to the surface of what were a lot of problems over the years. What makes it difficult is the grief never seems to go away, and there's not really anybody you could talk to about it. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of nobody can really understand the depths and nuances of family issues. And then there's adult children who are in the middle of it. And that's also very painful, not only for them, but also there's a sense of isolation sometimes when there's isolation that arises from that as well, too. So, and then with elderly parents, there's always, well, what happens, as they're getting sick and old, or when the day comes that you lose a parent? How do you show up without triggering things, or do you show up? What if a sibling doesn't want you there? So there's so many complicated issues.
Yeah. Can I interrupt, pause,
Yeah.
and repeat what
Yep.
I'm hearing you say?
Sure.
So I'm hearing you say that there is an estrangement situation between you, siblings, and parents now.
Correct. Hmm.
Estrangement as in no contact.
Yes. Yes, I would
Okay.
say no contact except for one aging parent recently, who has not been doing so well. But this parent has also expressed some kind of remorse, even though they really don't have an understanding. I think in their weak moment, they have tried to take some accountability, which I accepted, even though there truly was no real communication or understanding of what went on. I will say that. So
Mm,
I just let it go. And because I see them deteriorating so much, um, I'm just trying to be as compassionate and empathetic as possible, minding some boundaries and keeping some phone call conversations. Have not seen that parent at all in the past few years.
okay. And so it's affecting other people in the family. You're saying there's adult children that are, you said, aware of it and maybe uncomfortable and don't know what to do with it. And so it sounds like you're feeling all of the responsibility of the situation.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the cousins, from my family of origin, I have siblings, right? So the children of my siblings,
Mm,
try and stay in touch. Some of each other don't stay in touch. I know that they miss family. I know that they grieve some of those relationships. Yeah, so it has sequentially affected, you know, everyone in the perimeter of this whole family, this thing.
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. It's the distance you're saying between you and the parents, or are you saying the parents' behavior is affecting
The
everyone?
I would say the distance between myself and the parents and the other siblings' relationships,
Oh,
which are also weird and somewhat estranged, and one's enmeshed. And then, so what did you just ask me? Oh yeah, the I know the then the children, the cousins, and which are the grandchildren uh, of these parents,
yeah.
all have different relationships with the grandparents. Some, I
Mm,
would say, a couple of them are estranged from them because of the parents. Mine have a relationship with them, and they're able to, because they're once removed,
mm,
they kind of see a little bit about their grandparents, but they have a relationship with them that works. That works. They're not as triggered, or they don't get the same thing that the children got. Us children got. You know what I'm saying? They're the
right,
grandchildren,
right.
and then there's the other grandchildren who are very much engaged with them because of the enmeshed parent. Their enmeshed parent who's still
Gotcha.
enmeshed with those parents.
Okay.
So yeah, that's that. Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna draw something real quick. Let's just make this a visual, right? So
Okay.
two grandparents are
So
both
right, there's two grandparents.
two grandparents. Okay. I'm guessing male, female.
Correct.
Okay. And then how many children do they have? Three.
Three.
All right. Three. And then you are what?
Oldest.
Oldest. Okay. So female, male, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't. Do you need to know, or
I mean, yeah, if you're willing to share, yeah.
sure? Um,
Two siblings.
I'm the female, then a male, and then a female.
All right. And then what's the age? Well, you don't have to share that. So, and then there are kids. Who's the enmeshed one?
The male.
Okay. Enmesh, we'll put here. Okay. And then there's, we'll do, I mean, we can do, it's too complicated. So we'll do, I don't know how many kids, but there are kids here too. We'll
Yep.
do that.
Ki-
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then so
All three have kids.
all three have kids. Okay. We'll
Right.
do this. Okay. And so there's kind of it's fragmented kind of everywhere. There are some
Frag-
relationships that are more disengaged, distanced, some that are more enmeshed, codependent. Okay. And so it's all kind of created what feels like a mess, and it makes bigger family gatherings feel just uncomfortable. Nobody, people,
Actually impossible.
impossible.
They don't even happen anymore, really.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So we're also coming off of like Christmas and stuff, right? Like where,
Yep. Yep. As a
yeah.
matter of fact, one of my kids said to me, and in a very loving way, not upset or pointing fingers at me or anything, but like, we really don't have any family. And,
Mm,
you know, I think that child of mine does see the family that we do have. I'm remarried and stuff like that, but my family of origin,
mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm, mm.
and even on her father's side, not much because I'm divorced from her dad. So there's this grief
Yes.
I that's born within her is all
Mm-hmm.
I can, and it's very painful for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. And so is that kind of what preempts you to come here and just explore this more? Is that part of a motivating factor, is your daughter's grief and your daughter's pain?
Yeah, actually, that is a big part of it. You have helped me put a lot of words, as
Yeah.
well as the work I've done to. I understand, like I have a list of the things that have caused what has fractured everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I have words for it finally at this point in
Right.
my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to reconcile it. And I think these children of mine and the children of my siblings, I miss them dearly. I
Mm-hmm.
feel sad for them. I don't know how to move forward in life without just carrying what feels like a backpack of grief
Right.
while just trying to still embrace the blessings of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. And so thank you for all that context. That's all really helpful. And you said adult children, so now it's just feeling really real. Like you kind of probably hoped that over time things would change naturally, the people would come together. I mean, huge life events and funerals and marriages and just graduations in life. I imagine that there was always like hope that something would change in a bigger way. And then so
Mhm.
now you're at this point in life where it's like, no, this is real. This backpack is real. This grief is real. And so what do I do now? So is there a specific question you have related to all that? It sounds like you're doing work, you're putting names to things, you're understanding, which probably helps you. How has that helped you? I guess that's my first question. What has
Um,
naming it
well,
done?
well, being able to name it gives me some clarity because, and I go back to naming it when I start to feel like I'm responsible for
Mm,
everything,
hmm,
and when I keep thinking I can maybe try and fix it. As the oldest, I think I've always the parentified daughter that I am. I feel like I've always been able to try and fix something. I should fix something, and it's constantly how much am I supposed to fix something? And then every time I think, okay, go back and fix it, like I've tried in the past. Apologies, even for things I don't feel I was fully responsible for, were weaponized against me. Even when I tried to be humble or just let things go, even in my own pain or anger, or where I was convinced or even gaslit into thinking I was the reason for a problem.
mm-hmm,
Even coming forward at those moments never resolved anything.
mm,
So I think at this point, I don't know. I guess my question would be, what do I do if something tragic happens to my parents, which could happen at any point? How do I help support my children in their grief? How do I show up and not have a huge drama? Do I ask if I can show up? What do I do? And then I think the third part of that question would be, how do I continue to support my children through this fracture, through possibly another one of their weddings coming up,
mm,
um, and things of that nature, where they're so fearful of having us together, or who would show up or who wouldn't show up, as in the past. So yeah, is that too much? Or I
No,
think,
that's not too much. It
okay.
sounds like it will, to your parents being older, just has made all of this. It sounds like pressure from both sides of things. The top down, if something terrible happens to them, or, just in their age. And then with your kids, there's just so much, it sounds like that can create a lot of pressure on you to figure this out. They call middle age like the sandwich. What is
Yes,
it?
the sandwich
The
generation.
sandwich
Yeah.
generation. How that is the difficult part of the time of life that you're in, is managing these two opposing things. And where do I fall in that? What about my needs and my wants? Like, do you find it hard to separate your own needs and wants from those of everybody else's?
I always have.
Right.
I think the estrangement has taken that pressure off, which has been a huge pressure valve release. Even with the grief that's carried, there's this uncanny, maybe I can explain it, sense of peace and self-reclamation.
Yeah.
That is has been so nourishing, self-nourishing, and then when you feel that, it then metabolizes sometimes into guilt, like, oh, should I be feeling this, and is it selfish and guilty to feel this sense of peace? And the duality of it is so complicated, because there's grief and relief.
That is so well said. And then you're saying too, you get to a point of this peace, and then it you said metabolizes to guilt of like, is this feeling okay? Should I be doing something different?
Right. And then
Like,
what's the purpose of this peace if you can't have the people that you thought would love you the most in your life with you? Like, what's the purpose? Because it's a very lonely peace. It could not lonely, not maybe that's the wrong word, because in that peace there's a lot of comfort, because you can barely be yourself, and feel and really feel connected to yourself for the first time in your life. The self-loathing and the shame and all those terrible questions seem to like go away, and you think you feel more whole.
Yeah.
And then you're just very sad, because you're like, well, wow, it took all of that loss to have peace.
And that's the tragedy here too. That's the tragedy of these situations, is it doesn't come without a cost like that, or a price, which is the grief and
Right.
that pain.
And there's this awareness that you've tried things before, and because there's this voice that keeps saying, well, maybe if, but I know now not to act on that. I used to always impulsively act on it. Maybe I drew a painting. I painted something and sent it to my parents with a note, or I sent an email to a sibling, or when we reconnected, I thought I was going overboard to show love and to show a side of my, just to try and be overly people pleasing, if you want to call it. But it was never really enough. It was never really enough, because there was just so much projection and so much unresolved trauma of their own. And a big piece of this, if it helps with some clarity, I will say, in childhood, there was a domestic violence household. So this is another component, I think, is important. It's an important piece of the puzzle, because when you're out of that household, that trauma never really gets addressed. it's like it's like, wasn't that bad, or it didn't exist, or who remembers what or doesn't. And those same behaviors then morph into control, manipulation, guilting, triangulation, silent treatment, gaslighting, all of those things now that are the origins of what was in that household start to grow roots into different ways to deal with the adult children of those parents, even though their relationship survived, however they managed to keep it together, and maybe some of that volatility simmered down over the years, but still very dysfunctional codependent relationship that managed to stay together. And we look like the crazy ones because we stayed married, and all these professions of their dedication to one another, while us three kids were basically, I would say, if you could picture a pinball machine, I think that visual just came to my mind, like a pinball machine in their life. Mm-hmm. One against the other, you're in, you're out, everything's, it's like chaotic all the time.
Right. Right. Is there one, so we're talking the family system here, and is there one relationship, is there one person here, even an in-law, but is there anybody that has the awareness that you've come to about the family and the dysfunction and how it's affected you guys? Has anyone been to therapy? Has anybody done any work?
So I've been in therapy for, many, many, many years. I've even, as I've gotten older, I've actually tried a couple of other therapists just for different input, but maintained my original therapist for I can't even tell you how many years I've been with that therapist. So I feel like out of everybody, I have spent the most time and money in therapy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One sibling, zero therapy. Another sibling has only in the past several years embarked on some therapy, and that sibling has even said to me in some vulnerable moments that we've had, and we're not really talking anymore, that sibling has said, well, you're ahead of me in this processing of everything. You're more aware or evolved in it, or I don't know. I can't remember the words that sibling used, but acknowledging that I had some greater tangible way of describing everything. And that relationship with that sibling now it's just so strained because I think we had such a trauma bond over the years. It was a trauma bond. Mm-hmm. And I think all the triangulation and all the other stuff underneath it, and the projection, we imploded. And that has been so confusing because then you're like, wow, that relationship was really built on stuff that wasn't real. And
that's that, what you're describing is so many people's experience of their sibling relationships when they grew up in a dysfunctional family, one with abuse, physical abuse. Is kids have no choice but to, the way that they bond is rooted not in love and respect, but it's in control, power and control, triangulation, projection, like you're saying, kind of defense mechanisms, because everybody's in survival mode. Everybody's in survival mode. And then complicate it with our own personal lives, right?
Then we went and had families that have had our own problems.
Right.
We've been in trauma in our own situations, right? Mm-hmm. And so you add that on, and then everything gets conflated.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I would say, yeah, then it's another layer
Mm-hmm.
where then, of course, how do the relationships even start? How can you even have a relationship when there's just so much muck in the way?
Right. Right. And
And
it's
there's denial on some parts of some people. And, like the one sibling that has had their own drama with these parents, but has consistently stayed, like, when I tell you, so like that, even though it's been unhealthy and weird for them,
mm-hmm.
they have had this, it's inseparable in a way.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and that person's the one that has done no therapy. And if you even try to approach them about something, they
Right.
shut you down.
Right. So defense mechanisms are still pretty strong. And that's the hard thing too, is like you're saying, we have our own lives. This stuff has manifested and it's been passed down essentially. The trauma, the generational trauma, that's what we're talking about here.
Yes, and I will add another thing if this helps anybody. I mean, if you go to my parents' parents without saying where or how, there was estrangement
Right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And the way my parents coped sometimes with things with their extended family
Yeah.
was to estrange themselves.
Right. Right. Right.
And I will tell you, they used estrangement. They used the silent
Mm-hmm.
treatment to guilt and manipulate. Like, I never had the idea that I would not talk to somebody at some point. Like, I would just cut people off. It was never even, I don't even know if you want to say I cut anybody off. It's like, at this point, it's boundaries that I have to have around me for my own safety and peace of mind. I can't survive anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's that. So yeah, sorry. I start to
Yeah. No, it's okay.
ramble because it's very emotional.
Yeah, it is. And so going back to answer, my like therapist brain is like wanting to keep diving. And what I want to do is answer your question, which is, what do I do if there's a tragedy with my parents? Estrangement is still alive and well, dysfunction, unresolved conflict, denial. What do I do in that situation? And how do I help my daughter? And the answer to that question, I think we need to talk about grief, because that's what's really real. Your discernment is very sharp right now, it sounds like, it's where it's like, let's take a realistic look at these relationships. Are there any that have the components that make repair possible? And it sounds like with one sibling, possibly with time, and another sibling, it doesn't look like in the near future. With your parents being elderly and something happening, I think we have all these ideas of what end of life should look like and what we kind of dream it would be, which is love and a time of peace and, helping someone transition. And a lot of times, again, there's grief there because it's like, I don't think that's what this is going to look like. So the reality of this situation, it sounds like with your family, is the grief is we need to have a relationship to the grief and honor it and listen to it, as opposed to thinking like it's going to go away or repair, is possible today. Like just having, and it sounds like you have a realistic viewpoint of it. The thing with your daughter, all we can do kind of here is break the cycles here. So these are all opportunities just to connect with your kid about it and educate and talk openly about it. And it's sad because her dreams maybe of like everyone being together, having this family at her wedding, that grief is real too. And the grief comes from dysfunction and trauma, and it's not about fault. It's not about who's right and wrong here. It's simply about there's a lot of pain here that people don't know how to deal with. And all we can do is kind of approach each situation at the time that it comes. I think that's the hardest part about family and siblings, is that there's so much time, like they never stop being your sibling. And so there's always like hope in a sense because they're always your sibling. And that's the hardest part about it, is that like hanging on feeling.
Exactly.
And the good news is, though, being an adult now, having your own family now, it feels like this all of the time. Like it feels like this is your family. When you're making decisions with your daughter, I'm wondering if you think like you just feel the weight of this generational trauma. And what I want to encourage you, Tony, okay, is to think like this. Where this is, you get to focus on you and your daughter.
Yes.
And any other kids.
Yes. Myself and my children, that's where I'm realizing it's the only place I need to try and stay, to be present and
Yes.
to try and help the future. It's the only place. And the silver lining in that is it's a really good place. We have such good communication, such understanding. They are so attuned. They saw things, they've seen things, they absorb things. So they see I don't really even have to say anything to them. They completely understand a lot of the reasoning of it all, which is interesting. Like, they've seen me be hurt. They've seen me hurt. They've heard things said to me that they think was inappropriate. They've witnessed things in the other relationships that they think are dysfunctional.
Right.
They're not judging, but it's helping them with clarity. And while they love all these people, we are very much in a I think, like, as you were saying, and I have to try and stay there, we are very much in a good place ourselves, thank goodness,
Mm-hmm.
in a healing trajectory and that doesn't mean we don't have issues. It's not perfection. I mean, we're humans, right? My children are human. They have their own struggles too. That they're metabolizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the relationship is where we can talk, express, grow together, learn, and I have with them what I never had with my parents, because if there's one gift my parents gave me through all the pain, is I learned not to replicate what they did. I am so aware of what not to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And right. It doesn't mean I haven't made mistakes, but I've caught them, and then I've changed them, and I've been accountable to my children.
And that's everything. That's everything. And I wonder what it would be like, Tony, for you to really be here and to enjoy and to maybe think about the greater family as like, maybe one day, I'm going to put my energy here in my kids and in myself. Oldest child, you said, oldest daughter, parentified. That's the trauma is always focusing on other people, being responsible for everyone instead of being responsible to yourself, to your kids. And that's where you're allowed to stay. And the attitude about what if something happens with my parents, what if something happens with my siblings, know that you will be able to handle it when it comes, because you have the foundation here. You're going to keep learning. You're going to keep growing. I mean, I imagine think about yourself 6 months ago, a year ago, and like you probably you probably couldn't believe where you are now with all of this. And it's going to be the same thing in another 6 months or a year. And you're going to get stronger. It's not that those things won't be painful. It's that you will have more and more resources and tools to deal with it when it comes. And you have discernment to know when repair is possible, and maybe meeting with a professional and maybe creating a different space for it. Like there's other options also. And the more you learn and grow, the more and just trust in yourself, the more options will become available. But it sounds like some of this is already The magic is here.
It is, and the grief is there too, because sometimes they're off with those other family members. They go and spend time with them, and in the past I would be there with them. Mm-hmm. So as I'm getting older, I'm losing time with my children, you know, and with family time when they sometimes do those things. And in those moments, I'm so happy that I haven't infringed on any of those relationships, and I won't and didn't. But you feel, wow, look at another loss now. You know, I'm not sharing in this with them, with everyone. Mm-hmm. And I realize though too, what the clarity that comes back is that I go back to the moments when I was with them and how sometimes I would leave in tears. So like, what am I really missing? Mm-hmm. Letting my kids manage their own relationships and find their own truth. And I get to not leave in tears anymore.
There you go. You get to do something for yourself that day. And if that changes, you know, the more you relate to and honor your grief, the more clarity will come with any of these decisions, and then the more peace. But the grief, because they're your family, it doesn't go away. You know, we just have to change our relationship to it and honor it and accept it. And that's obviously easier said than done. It takes work to do.
Right.
Thank you so much for calling in today, or I guess I called you, but being willing to share your story. And it's so painful. It's so painful.
Thank you for everything you share. I found you on TikTok, and like I said, even your illustrations were also very helpful in, you know, understanding things and helping me even with my children, you know. So the clarity has taken on a whole other level too, and you continue to learn. And so what you're putting out there has been so helpful, and I appreciate what you do. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you all the best. And
thanks, Kate.
Yeah, I hope you take care.
Thanks. You too. See you soon.
Bye. Oh man. You know, I think the siblings, like this, it's all so painful. Whenever I talk to people about estrangement, it's so gray. And there's obviously so much we could have gone into with Toni and her family and understanding what's happened. And, you know, that's the weight of what a lot of people feel when it comes to estrangement. And a lot of people that engage with my stuff, they're the ones learning. They're the ones that have been responsible for everyone else instead of responsible to themselves. People like Toni in that position that are sensitive and care and have also maybe felt the sense of responsibility, they can really struggle in life to put their needs first and put themselves first. And that's the kind of fun part about healing, is like, oh, part of my growth is I get to worry about me. And that's really scary and hard, but it's so fulfilling. Toni has done such a great job of learning and naming and feeling and breaking cycles. I mean, that's just amazing. So thank you, Toni. Thanks everybody for listening. And I'll see you next Tuesday and Wednesday. Stay studious.